Tom Morello, A Night of Stories and Music, comes to the Living Arts Center in Mississauga Sunday, October 19th. Make sure you get your tickets at the link in the description. If you can't make it to that and you're in Oakville, Brantford, Brampton, St. Catharines, and a whole bunch of other towns, get tickets to all those shows as well. Get them at tommorello.com. And I'm also excited to speak about a cool little project he's got in Chicago called Revolutions. It's coming to the Goodman Theater in October as well. What's up, everybody? It's your homeboy, The Identity Crisis, on behalf of Modern Mississauga Media. And I am speaking with a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, a once-in-a-generation, genre-defining, and a decade-defining guitarist, the one, the only, Mr. Tom Morello. Tom, thank you for joining me, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for that flowery introduction.
Man, tell me about this. Tell me about this tour that you've got coming up, A Night of Stories and Music. Sounds intimate.
I'm really looking forward to it. I did this the same show a few years ago off Broadway, and it was I've accumulated over 30 plus years of from Rage Against the Machine to Audioslave to playing with Bruce Springsteen to my solo work to all of the activist stuff, and from playing in Tear Gas and Barricades, accumulated quite a lot of stories of tragedy, triumph, and a lot of laughs and a lot of tears, during that time. And it's an acoustic show. Like, I've been, playing acoustic music since the early 2000s, very inspired by, Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, Leonard Cohen, etc. So it's a combination of sort of telling tales of mirth and woe from my various bands, from my personal history. At a troubled time in the world too. It's a show that hopefully will be entertaining and inspiring as well.
Is it just you and a guitar, or is
it is just me and a guitar?
Oh my gosh,
me and a guitar, and I like these theater settings. It's intimate, and people can really hear like the stories of your life and of your bands and of your time, as well as I love playing the acoustic Night Watchman music too. It's been one of my things that I've really most connected with and had some of my favorite experiences as a performer and as an artist with the acoustic guitar in hand. So stories and songs.
I'm looking forward to it, man. That's definitely different from what I'm used to from Tom Morello's camp.
I will say this, like I'm very happy to be doing this in Canada, because Canada since day one has been so supportive of all of my bands. Some of my favorite shows I've ever played have been in Canada with Rage, with Chris Cornell and Audioslave, and I just played a electric tour, of Canada a month ago, and really, it's a place that's near and dear to my heart. So to be able to go and have an intimate setting like these shows, and to be really sort of like close to the fans and close to people who are interested in that music, and to hear it from another angle.
Now, also tell me about this the Revolutions that's coming to the Goodman Theater in Chicago.
Sure. Revolutions is a musical that it's like a musical that I wrote the music for. It's it draws from sort of my Night Watchman stuff, Street Sweeper Social Club. It's got in some ways it's not so much a play as it is like an illegal underground rave, sort of wrapped around some of the politics of the day. The book was written by Zaid Dorn, who is the son of Bernadine Dorn and Bill Ayers, two of the leaders of the Weather Underground, the radical organization in the 60s and 70s. His parents are like the fairy godparents of my children. I've known Zaid since, he's an accomplished playwright. He reached out to me during the pandemic and said, I love sort of the different elements of your style and your music through the years. Do you mind if I use those as like the cornerstones of a play that I want to write about, about what's going on in the world right now, about sort of generational political triumph and trauma in families. And he wrote a really at first I was just like, sure, go ahead, dude. Like, I'll be happy to take a look at that. And he wrote a really beautiful, moving, and important story for now. And then it's just a rock party at the same time. Like, I wanted to insist, like, this is not like musical theater. This is not, Annie, Get Your Gun or anything like that. It's a really sort of powerful, loud, big rock show that presents the ideas that have been interwoven throughout my entire career on a stage in Chicago. I'm from the Chicago area. I'm coming home to do this play there, so I'm very excited about that as well.
Wow, so you wrote the music and the lyrics for it.
That's correct. Yeah. So they're collaborators. Like some of the songs are taken from my catalog, working with Boots Riley, working with some other artists. But that is my responsibility, is the lyrics and the music for the musical.
Very cool. Now you're no stranger to the world of acting. I saw in your bio that you had, well, you're part of the Marvel universe. You
Yeah.
were in Iron Man. You were
Yeah.
in a couple episodes of Star Trek as well, with a couple different Insurrection and Voyager.
Yeah, well, I mean, those particular instances that you mentioned, like I have sort of, there's only two criteria that get me to, in front of a camera. One is a friend of mine has to ask me to do it. John Favreau is a friend of mine. He asked me to be an Iron Man, or it has to be Star Trek. I'm a full on Star Trek nerd. If they ask me to be in Lord of the Rings, I'll be in that. You know what I mean? Like I love all the sort of the fantasy adventure stuff. But I'm actually the first guy that Iron Man kills in the Marvel universe. Those like the terrorists who go in the cave when he first makes the suit and like the light comes on, and there's the terrorist dude there who turns around and then gets socked across the room. That's me.
Very cool. Very cool, man. I didn't realize you were into the comic book stuff and the
Oh
Trekkie
yeah,
stuff. That's
yeah.
amazing.
Huge, was a really huge comic book fan around till the time I started playing guitar, and that kind of took over. But with the Iron Man thing is, they offered me some money for it. I'm like, that's okay. I don't, I'm just happy to do it. It's fun to do it. So they gave me as payment Iron Man's helmets, like the
Oh my
first
God.
helmet that Iron Man, which is better than any check, right? You know what I mean? Like so, like you come to my house, you can put it on.
Did you check the gray market value of that yet?
I have not. I'm gonna hang on to that one though.
Why don't we go back to the infancy stages of your career? Now, obviously, like I mentioned off the top, you're an innovator. You're kind of in a league of your own. At that time, in the late 80s and the early 90s, what was the fuel for you wanting to be such an innovator, to be so unique with your sound, with your tone, with your
Yeah.
playing?
The fuel was failure. It was. I was a shredding, Sunset Strip, hair metal guitar player. Like I had the Steve Vai, Randy Rhoads chops. That's where I was going to try to fit in, and I didn't fit in. I couldn't get in a band because I didn't have long enough hair. I didn't have the particular look or cheekbones, they were looking for. And then I joined a band called Lockup. We made a record on Geffen Records that was not successful. I did everything that the producer asked. I toned down my toggle switch stuff, the sort of the more avant-garde nature of it to make songs that sounded like they might be more ready to be on the radio. Got dropped from the label, for the couple $100 in my pocket, and I was never going to be a rock star. I was never going to make records, but I was still a musician. So I made a solemn vow to just play music that I loved. And that's when I started writing the riffs for the first Rage Against the Machine record. And that's when, we started doing those songs. I'm like, all that stuff that I left off of the Lockup record, I'm like, that's what my playing is. Like, that's my voice on the instrument. I really look at it like the electric guitar is a fairly new instrument on the planet. And a lot of times even my favorite guitar players in magazines will be like, well, it's all been done on the guitar. I'm like, how do you know? Like just a piece of wood with some wires and some electronics that can be manipulated in a lot of different, that doesn't sound like Chuck Berry, that doesn't sound like Eddie Van Halen, doesn't sound like the Ramones. And all of a sudden I like the light went on and I found myself in this completely like this empty, there was no one else on that road. I was writing these big kind of Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath riffs, but mixing it with R2D2 sounds and animal noises and like crazy stuff that you would never think in a rational way should be on a song or
Right.
certainly would ever be on the radio. And I didn't care because I was done. I had no chance of being successful doing it the regular way. So I'm just going to sound like me. Spoiler alert, there's a lesson in that. I just was myself and played music that was authentic. And that's the music that connected.
Man, that's inspiring. I'm a producer, recording artist as well, and I've always kind of viewed guys like you in particular as an inspiration because not in the sense that I want to mimic your sound, but I
Yeah.
want to mimic what you're doing, what your headspace is at, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's cool to know that failure is the fuel because
Yeah.
that's a good message for a lot of up and
Yeah.
coming artists of all kinds, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That is again and again, it has been failure that has opened the door to the best parts of my artistry. Like when I first got a job out here and I got my first check, so I ran down to get a custom made guitar. I don't know anything about making a custom made guitar. I picked the wood and the pick. I don't know what I'm doing. It was an expensive, terrible guitar, right? So over the course of the years, I changed the neck 10 times and changed the pickups and the whammy bar and all this, and just trying to get, and my amp, I could never get the sound that I wanted, the sound that I sort of imagined. One day I spent about like 3 hours on it, and I just was so frustrated. I said, you know what? I'm spending so much time trying to get this imagined. I'm not writing songs. I'm not practicing even. I'm just like trying to obsessed over this sound that's never going to happen. So I just gave up. I failed to get the sound I wanted. I marked my amplifier. I was like, this is the best I can do. I don't particularly like it, but this is going to be my sound. And now I'm going to concentrate on creating. Those marks are still on my amplifier. That was 1988. That's where it was the Arm the Homeless guitar on that day, and the marks on that amplifier have been on every record I've ever. That's my tone on every Rage record, every Audioslave record, every show. I've got a show tonight, a charity show tonight. It's those markings on that amplifier will be there tonight. That's my sound. I failed getting the sound I wanted, and then got out of my own way and just like, this is your sound. Fine, like just be creative with that, and then that ended up being the sound of Rage, Audioslave, and Tom Morello.
Crazy.
Stories and songs at that's the kind of story you're going to get when you.
That's awesome, man. We're getting a sneak preview right here. Okay, I know we don't have much time, so I just want to ask you quickly what else is coming down the pike?
Sure. I'm in the mid right now. There's been a lot going on. There was the big Black Sabbath show that happened, and I was the musical director of that. But right now, I'm concentrating on making my first solo rock album. I've made 22 records in my career, right, between all the bands and my other stuff. But I've never made like a Tom Morello rock record, something that has all of like the big Morellian riffs of Rage and Audioslave, the sort of the Sabbath Zeppelin stuff, which I love, which has all the crazy guitar solos, that has like sort of my singer-songwriter Bruce Springsteen, Woody Guthrie thing in it too, but in a really rocking way. I'm also playing a lot with my son, Roman Morello. He's a devastatingly great, like I'm now the rhythm guitar player in my family.
Oh, wow.
Like we were just jamming. He was teaching me an Al Di Meola song yesterday, So jamming, I've been touring with him across Canada. We used to do a tour with him across Canada. It's wonderful to play with that sort of dynamic 14-year-old, shredding artist. And that's it. This year I've got the acoustic tour in Canada, the Goodman show, Revolution's opening up, an electric tour of the United States. We got a lot of problems here. I'm going to try to sort them out with my electric guitar before the new year, and then some big plans in next year, but we'll talk about that some other time.
Well, Tom Morello at the Living Arts Center, October 19th. Make sure you get your tickets. Link in description. I'm also going to be playing at the Rec Room, November 8th. Tickets in the description. Tom, thank you so much for joining me. It was an honor and a privilege to speak with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the 19th.
My pleasure. Thank you for your thoughtful questioning. Looking forward to it as well, man.
Take care, my friend.
Okay, peace.